everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, where it is ActionX's premiere show where we talk about all things television. Usually that is reviewing episode by episodes of shows, reviewing season by seasons, or reviewing quick impressions. However, today we are reviewing High School Musical 3 Senior Year. Now, why is that per se? So next week, High School Musical, the series, returns to our airways with season 2. I'm very excited. We will be reviewing every episode in season 2 starting next week. However, before we get that on the roll, I kind of wanted to get back in the mood because it's been a long while since I've seen anything High School Musical related. It's been a stretch. The last time was, I believe, for HSM 2, I believe, or something like that. I was originally planning to do all of them consecutively, but just things got in the way. So here we go. Also, yes, I am very well aware that Senior Year is a theatrical release movie that was never meant to air on TV. It was meant to watch in theaters. But since everything else has been TV related, I'm going to say screw it. It counts. So here we go. We're reviewing the end of the original trilogy. So let's go. I watched it last night before. I was going to record the review fresh last night, but then I had some other things to take care of. So I decided to just kind of, wait on it a little bit, just kind of get back into the zone a bit with today, so I didn't have to rush it. And so, yeah, that's basically the gist of it. So moving on to the movie itself. I distinctly remember seeing this movie on premiere day of 2008 because it actually came out on my birthday of 2008. This was a great way to turn 11 years old, I believe. No, 10 years old. Actually, was it 10? I think it was 10. Yeah. So that time period was great. It was my senior year of elementary school. Well, I know people don't call it senior year in elementary school, but it was my final year in elementary school. So the timing was kind of poignant, and I picked that movie because ironically the elementary school that I went to was called the our basketball team's name was the East High Wildcats. I do not remember if we won the championship that year. I do not remember, but I did have a couple friends who were on the basketball team, so I kind of just did it for him because I did invite one of the lead players to my party, and he actually did come. So that was hilarious. I don't really know if that story seems like something that's so cringeworthy for another time. I won't attach that to this review. So it's been a long time since I've seen Senior Year in whole. I actually have not seen it in now 13 years until last night. So now remembering the last two movies in context, it would kind of be cheap to say this was the best one because visually it was the best looking one. They definitely used the extra budget, the better camera lenses, more choreographed and more extra production time, definitely to its advantage. I do believe, hands down, short impressions, High School Musical 3 Senior Year is by far the superior one of the three because of all those elements. Now you can get nitpicky and you can get into the minute details of the issues this movie has. It's not a perfect movie per se, but if it's on par with the other High School Musical movie, but it was only the theatrical element that made it so much more better than the other two, where each one had its own story to tell. High School Musical 1 was telling the story of kind of this Romeo and Juliet type feel where these two should not be together, but also because of the status quo of high school and social stigmas and everything, these two alone can break everything. High School Musical 2 was definitely the sense of like time is fleeting, the future is coming, but also we need to take a step back and appreciate what's around us. And this one definitely is that moment of like, here it is, this is the end of the story. How do we deal with the idea of the ending, and how do we accept that and move forward with life? Because I watched this movie originally after I was ending elementary school, before I was ending elementary school. Seeing it now after graduating my own case of high school and my own case of college, me now looking back on it, definitely I understood more of what the source material was trying to tell me. I definitely did understand it more. I appreciate the movie more, and I kind of felt bad considering the fact how things ended up for the cast post this movie. But regardless, normally I would do a butchered recap where I would talk about the movie in whole, because or I would basically sequentiate the movie into a very bite-sized version for your viewing pleasure. I'm not gonna do that here, since you should go see the movie on Disney Plus, which is where I watched it last night. So it's on there, and including the other two movies, the Sharpay spinoff, which we'll probably review at some point in the future, as well as the show. So there you go. So basically, after Sharpay's, after everything else, Sharpay's the only one we got to do. But I'll be going for the major events, and I won't be doing a full detail by detail breakdown. I'll be just talking about the characters and their journey throughout. Going for everything, because once again, the core dynamic of this movie is Troy and Gabrielle. They're the core dynamic. They're the story that matters. Troy sadly does get a little bit more attention in the story. Gabrielle kind of falls a little bit short, but their love story once again is at the forefront of this. I do want to say Sharpay does have kind of like the third lead, the third billing in this, because there is a decent amount of her story to go through. Not as much per se. I think Ryan falls fourth, and Chad and Monique. Oh, no, I'm talking about the actors. Chad and Taylor are kind of just there. They don't really have much to do, and we can work our way backwards here. So Taylor, as much as I love the character, I think she's very funny, and I think she's just another nice piece of the ensemble. I think out of all the 6 characters, she definitely gets the shortest stick. She's normally either with Chad or with Gabriella, and that's basically it. There wasn't really sort of a journey for her. I think mostly her journey was being Gabriella's friend, accepting Chad to be her boyfriend, or at least her high school romance, and that was technically the case. I didn't really see much of a change in her character in the movie. Her only major roles were like being in every big group scene, her helping Gabriella with the whole her transferring to Stanford early on before the graduation for high school. That's kind of where she was involved with. But then when it came to really every other aspect of it, she didn't really get much of her own story to tell. And I know, like, yeah, it's a 2-hour movie, so there's only so much you could do in an ensemble cast. I'm just saying, after 3 movies, they never really gave her much to do, to be honest with you. But thankfully, she is a bright spot, and the scenes that she is in, and also, again, her voice very underutilized in the songs, and getting a little bit more spotlight, and especially in it's gonna be a night to remember. Definitely was a plus for me. No pun intended with Disney Plus. Chad was kind of like, I don't think he's changed much in the 3 movies. I don't believe so. Towards the end of it, he's kind of like, he's always been a friend, but he's always kind of like straight mind to like UCLA. That's the goal. That's the dream. That's where I want to end up with, and he wants Troy to be there with him. I do respect that. I do appreciate that. I get that for his character. But he kind of got whiny towards the end, when Troy was starting to think for himself and trying to see, maybe this isn't my destiny. Maybe this isn't where I was supposed to go. And maybe, we can find, again, breaking the status quo of like, he doesn't necessarily, I think Troy and, I think, I forgot Chad and, Taylor definitely are kind of like, they support Troy and Gabriella, but they are very much realist in saying, like, this is a high school romance. There will be other partners in the future. You will find someone else down the line. It doesn't necessarily have to just be your high school love. And I do get that from a perspective of being real with the world and how things really are. I do get that, but I mean, unlike Taylor, I distinctly remember there was either a deleted scene or there was because I remember High School Musical 3 had like a different version. This is not the theatrical version. This is a much more edited version with some more deleted scenes. There was an additional scene where Gabriella and Taylor were talking. Taylor were talking about Stanford, and then Gabriella said like, maybe I should just stay in town for another year just to be near to Troy. And Taylor's like, no, you shouldn't. Troy's just a dude. He's just a guy. He's just your first crush. And that hurt Gabriella, but then Taylor immediately took that back and kind of comforted her. Chad never really did that. He was supportive of him, but he never really like understood where he was coming from, especially towards the end when Troy eventually did pick another school over UCLA. No, not UCLA. U of A. for a brief moment, he was feeling a little selfish that, like, hey, I don't have my bro anymore. He's leaving me for a chick or a girl. But thankfully, I know that that scene was very much quickly taken care of, fairly quick. But just the reaction of it, I mean, even when I was being told by my friends that we weren't going to the same university, I never got bummed by it. I understood where their directions lied, and I completely understood that. So that's how I viewed it as. So moving on to Ryan, who I think got fourth billing. I want to say Ryan kind of did a midgress where the Ryan we left at the end of 2 was a more confident, more solo Ryan. 3 kind of played with the notion of like, yeah, he's still that same Ryan where like he has an independence, he's able to have his own friend group. I think he would, if you were to invite both him and Sharpay to events, Ryan would be the more one to inclined to show up and just do his own thing. He doesn't necessarily have to just be Sharpay's beck and call like everyone else normally is. And I do see that definitely in this movie at the start, he was trying to be his own thing. Like he was always with Sharpay, but he wasn't with Sharpay that often. He was always trying to do his own thing. And then the whole like I Want It All song kind of like brought him back quickly, which I kind of like. He knows her better than anyone else. Like all it took was a song and dance for him to like, okay, you know what, we could do this. We could maybe be a team again. Figure out a way to like win. Get the Juilliard scholarship, so to speak. But then towards the middle of the movie was kind of like you were questioning his motives since the whole big evil plot for Sharpay in this movie, well, evil plot was she was going to let known to Troy that Gabrielle was considering leaving early for a Stanford opportunity, and she knew like Gabrielle was going to leave and she was going to take over so she can have more of the songs. But she kind of lied to Ryan saying like, well, if you can get Kelsey, who had a bit of a bigger role in this movie, she definitely had more scenes, especially with Ryan. They were playing with the notion that they were going to be a couple or they had more romantic feelings let along. Back in the day, back when I saw this movie, I kind of viewed it as maybe they were kind of into each other, but they never really explored much with it. It was kind of just a last minute addition to this movie, to this series. And then I read interviews later on that had the movie had been written in a more modern sense, Ryan would have been more pronounced as homosexual or gay. Like in High School Musical, the musical, the series, where I think 2 of the characters and one just got promoted for series regular for season 2 are a homosexual couple or a gay couple, whatever. I forgot what the correct terminology is. There's a lot of terms. I apologize if I make a mistake. I apologize. I actually sincerely apologize. But in the context of this movie, it was a nice thing to see. It was really nice. But you kind of question his motives for a bit during the middle half. And then towards the end, it's like, okay, yeah, this is the Ryan we know. Like, he's doing his own thing. He doesn't always have to follow Sharpay's rules. And then when Sharpay got the bitter end of the stick with her adventure solo, and we didn't get to see them dance. She didn't get to her shining moment, which I'll get to in a moment. That was the Ryan I want to see. And other than that, he didn't really do much. It was more of cocky Ryan, like solo Ryan. And that's what I liked. On to Sharpay herself. I keep viewing her story as a tragedy, where the first movie definitely painted her as like a self-centered villain, where even towards the end you assume like, oh yeah, she's friendly now, she's nice, like, and then the first one became super popular, so they made the sequel kind of like continue that trend of like she's only looking out for herself. 3 does continue that function, but it has a different context, if you know what I mean, because I never knew what it meant to go to college or to apply to college or get this like full ride scholarship. I never understood the process of doing that. And then when I got to that point, like, oh my God, I have such a different view for Sharpay. Because Sharpay's rich. She comes from a rich family. I'm pretty sure her family could have afforded Juilliard for her. She could have. But she didn't. She wanted to get that free scholarship. But she only was thinking of herself because like, in her mind, like getting acknowledged by Juilliard is like a kind of a big step for her career, and we'll see more of Sharpay's journey in her spin-off movie whenever we do get around to reviewing that. But in terms of this movie, she still is the same. Like, I'm looking out for myself regardless of who I hurt in the process. And it kind of baffled me how many times she can't get through her head that Troy and Gabriella are just meant to be together. They're the power couple. They're the ones who are really going to be the ones to really be the symbol. I know that Sharpay needs her moment to shine. I do get that. There are just other moments to get through that. And even towards the end of the movie, where yeah, she does accept that Ryan gets the scholarship. It makes sense to why Ryan gets the scholarship. And yes, it isn't just because Sharpay's biggest two moments of the musical was ruined by Troy's understudy, which was played by Scooter. Oh no, not Scooter. I'm Rocket Man, and it's just her having to deal with it, and definitely that was her big outbreak moment, and she got that ruined for her. And then even when her assistant took over her role, and then she realized she herself is also evil, and then having those two have a sing off and a dance battle, it's oh my god, this is just so good. I understood why she didn't get the scholarship, and honestly, Ryan and Kelsey, who ended up getting the scholarship for Juilliard, they freaking did the whole show. No wonder they got the scholarship. It wasn't even a question. That, yeah, Troy and Sharpay, good people, good talented people, but these two planned a whole scale musical, the whole score and the whole choreography. That proves Juilliard material. So even had Sharpay's plan not work, she was never gonna get it, in my opinion. She never was. I did feel bad that yeah, she never got her shining moment in any of the movies. I do get that. It's just, I think the movie just didn't help with painting her as the bad person, so that if you're watching the movie for the first time, you don't really get to see that often. You really don't. Whew, on to Gabriella. First of all, again, Vanessa Hudgens, one of the most beautiful women on the planet. Anyone who's eventually going to marry her is going to be the luckiest person alive. Okay, that being said, however, again, she's still very beautiful. I had a big crush on her back in 2008, and during that time period, I still do now. Going into this movie, definitely, sadly, she is second. Her romance story with Troy is probably one of the best on-screen couples of all time. TV, movie, any medium, it is one of the top tier. Because it's just one of those you don't get to see that often. Here's the jock and the smart girl, and I think you see more of that nowadays in in TV and film. But this was one of the ones that because you feel the chemistry in the actors. These two who were dating in real life during the filming of these movies, they were a couple in real life. So they had a spark that transitioned onto the screen, or vice versa. And it was nice to really see that, because you got to see them have a genuine connection. You got to see them actually have a spark. And it was nice because these two, I honestly don't even know what they talk about if the movies weren't happening. I would would have loved to see a show in between the movies where you just see them just be normal students. I want to see that. I really do. Well, not really do. I wanted to see that because I don't know how you would even get them to be. And I would just generally would have loved to see them just have more casual conversations, just see what they really connect to. Because yeah, they support each other a lot, but there's more to a relationship than just supporting each other. You need to have interests. You need to have things to do together that you both generally like, and then maybe one has, and then the other gets them infected as well. That sort of dynamic is something you want in a relationship. I just wanted to see more of that. But of course, obviously, their freaking scenes together, oh my god, I cannot the freaking "Can I Have This Dance?" One of the best freaking musical performances I've ever seen in my life. It's just so freaking good, and I loved every single second of it. I really did, and I kind of wish that we got more of that quality in the other movies. Not to say they were bad or anything. It's just I don't know. I just really love that high skill quality. But her story in this movie is parallels to Troy in a way where she is still deciding her future, where her and Troy have that similar destiny of predetermined. Although for Gabrielle, it's more of her accepting it, and Troy is trying to forge his own path. Because Gabrielle never had a moment, everyone knew Gabrielle had so much writing on her, but she had so much success. Out of the 6 of them, she has the most potential. And her throwing it away for Troy, yeah, definitely a stupid idea. And, she has to be willing to take that risk of maybe Troy and I don't need to be together because there's a bigger future for me out there. There really is. But she also has the sense of like, this is love. Love is what guides us, and maybe there is a way to like we can do it all, and it might work or not, but like if you don't put the effort in it, then what's the point of even doing it? And then seeing her like go for that like struggle of like, do I stay or do I go? Because she's already had that mentality of like leaving things left unread before, and just leaving everything behind because she's always constantly moving. And her doing it again, especially with a school and friends and a boyfriend that she's like really had such a bigger connection to than anything else. That's something that she had to go through in this movie. And then when she did eventually take that big leap and said, I'm just going to do it and leave, it just really, you saw the impact that when I was reviewing the show, I always said Nene is the real star of the show. Gabriella, even though Troy is like, his story is the main through line for the three movies, you see more of his story. Gabriella is really the real star of these movies. And it becomes apparent when you are at the halfway mark in the movie, you start to see the impact that Gabriella's, leaving affects them, because everyone's just become depressed. And like, yeah, of course, like, this is not the first time Gabriella left during the middle of a High School Musical movie, but this time it's genuinely, permanent for a while, because they don't know if she's coming back. Because yeah, she was in Stanford for for 2 weeks, but then she called Troy and said like, yeah, I can't just keep coming back and forth, because how many fucking goodbyes do I have to say to them? It is a shitty time, but maybe it was best for her to like, maybe I'll just keep this a permanent goodbye, show up for graduation, or maybe just get my diploma mailed in just so that I don't have to say goodbye. So then the whole second half of her is just like accepting the fact that high school is going to be a special time in your life where you are beginning to come into your own. You are beginning to find the minute cells of what you're going to be in the future. And college is going to exponentially, but this is High School Musical, so we won't go there. But for in this case, like, her eventually, like, now having that issue, and then eventually having Troy be the one to again remind her of, her life and like, well, how things really are, goes to show how much they've grown over the past 3 movies. And as for Troy, again, he's kind of like the de facto face of the franchise, because he's the good-looking one, that sort of spiel. Also, again, shout out to him in like his muscular game this time. He was really beginning to like show the buff Zac Efron. So, just an update you there. But then, so for him in this movie, it continues a trend of like continuing his journey. Of the first movie, he was just sticking narrow-minded, but Gabrielle kind of helped him open his horizons. And then he struggled to kind of like, with the whole like balance of like keeping what to begin to adapt to the future. He was beginning to like kind of like go through that narrow-mindedness. Then in this one, he had to expand it even wider, that like maybe it's not just what things were set in stone for me. Maybe there's a possibility that I could do something more. And he had so many like balances, because like, yeah, he didn't want to let out his father, who this is all they've been working towards since he was old enough to pick up a basketball, as well as a promise to his best friend that he's gonna go, but also his love for Gabrielle, and then also as well as him discovering like he does have this other passion for theater. Yeah, Gabrielle said best during the movie is like, there's a certain spark Troy has that it goes beyond just loving Gabriella. It's not just Gabriella that makes him go on stage, because he actually does genuinely love it, regardless of the amount of time he continuously denies it, because he wants to deny it. He doesn't want to begin accept. Like, he knows there are signs that like U of A is probably not going to be his end destination, but there's just so many eyes on him, like telling him he needs to go there. He needs to be in this college. Because at the end of the day, and there was a very powerful scene between him and Miss Darvis that a lot of people 10 years from now regret what college they go to, because they didn't explore another option, or they didn't explore this additional thing. And she didn't want Troy to be a part of that crowd. And she was the reason why he even got an application even a chance to be accepted at Juilliard, because she was one who pushed for that. So I I feel for him during the movie because like you struggle on like what direction do you need to go to and what mistakes are you gonna make along the way. And I can definitely feel about that myself about my college decisions, but that's another episode for another time. But in this regard, I understood him. I really did. And him deciding that I'm gonna try and do both passions and see which one sticks around. And 4 years is a lot of college, so thankfully he chose the right pick, and then hopefully it just works out for him in the end, whatever happens to him afterwards, and him and Gabrielle. Hopefully in this universe, I'm hoping they're still together. I really am, because it kind of will annoy me to death. But whatever, that's just fan fiction down a rabbit hole I won't explore down to. But I'll also a couple of things before I really wrap up this review. The sense of all the music, of all the music, the songs, the dancing. Oh my god, top tier, amazing, beautiful. Kenny Ortega does no wrong. He does it again. So I loved everything. My favorite was Just Want to Be With You, considering like the sense of unity, especially more so with High School Musical, which was the song, which was the ending to the whole movie. And then also, yeah, I really did like It's Gonna Be the Night to Remember, and I low-key want to recreate that someday down the future. And overall, yeah, I really did enjoy this movie. I still really, it still holds up pretty well in my books. Some things have not aged fairly well, but the jump from the television screen to a theatrical screen definitely helped out create a much more deeper, more beautiful story than the previous two, and definitely was a worthy capper to the end of this High School Musical trilogy. And I strongly recommend it. It's on Disney Plus with the other movies, so go binge them all if you want to. I think that's going to do it for me, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's in the Two from ActionX. If you want to see more of us, as well as the other things we do, which we are currently reviewing Rookie, Nancy Drew, and Walker each and every Sunday, Thursday, and Friday morning. And starting next week, we're about to start reviewing every season 2 episode for High School Musical, the series. That will be starting up next week, Saturday. Stay tuned for that. That's going to be exciting. We'll be doing all 12 episodes, a season 2 review, and then a season 3 predictions video. So we'll have non-stop 3.5 months of High School Musical content. This is just the beginning, so you'll see more of us pretty damn soon on your feeds. But again, if you want to see more of us, please subscribe to ActionX on YouTube.com. Ring that bell for notification when our next review is live. Like or share this review if you want to. It does help us get us out there to other members of the larger Wildcats fan base who has yet to discover us. It helps us beat up that YouTube algorithm, as well as sharing. It's always for free. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with any sort of updates for the channel, as well as let me know in the comments below, what did you think of High School Musical 3 senior year? I want to talk about it. I really do. So let me know. And until next time, for all you Wildcats, I'll see y'all next week when we start up our Season 2 reviews. So stay tuned till then. But until then, stay safe out there. Be good to each other. Enjoy your Mother's Day. And peace out.